I was going through an article yesterday. We found a very interesting cartoon where the CTO of the company was talking to his friend, where he was telling that he about his data security, and his friend asked how he is so confident about it. His reply was absolutely like a cherry on a cake. He said, "My data is so disorganized that they would never ever be able to find anything." So I think this is the key thing that we are talking about in all these sessions. If we move on to the next slide, I'll talk to you right. If we talk about access, let's try to understand this slide with the help of an example. Consider there is a school and the principal of the school decides to give access to Google to all the teachers of the school. So this is one of the scenarios. Now consider another scenario where the principal is trying to give access of Google to all the teachers who are teaching grade 10 and above. You see the difference between the two? I think I'll try to clearly highlight the difference between the two. When you are trying to make access control decisions with a broad strokes, it is referred to role-based access controls. That is the coarse-grained access control. Whereas the second example that I gave, in that we could clearly see that when we needed more granularity or we needed to make decisions under certain conditions, then we used the attribute access controls. And if you see on the right side of the slide, there are corresponding examples associated to the two things that we have just talked. So when I'm talking about RBAC, that is role-based access control, you can associate example as AWS IAM, that is identity access and management. Whereas when I'm talking about ABAC, Apache Sentry could be considered as its example. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so just the core concepts that we talked about. Here is an example depicting the same. It is a very simple example. If you see, there's a data lake, and data lake is having 3 set of rows. And there are 2 separate users. The first user is Joe, and then there's user 2, Ivana, and both are trying to query the same set of data set. But what we see is they both are getting different results. How did that happen? So here user Joe was an analyst and he was not having the access of particular PI data. So what he got, instead of the actual account numbers, you see, he got the master account numbers. Whereas Ivana, being a group HR, when she did same query, she was getting a different row as well as a different account number. That was the original account number. So you see here, we have talked about filtering the rows by region and have applied relevant column masking as well here. Okay, next slide, please. Let me throw some keywords here first. World War II, Enigma machines. Does this ring any bell? Okay. Enigma machines, I think, were used during World War II by Germany to send information to their forces in an encrypted way. But once allies cracked the code, they were able to win the war. Okay. So now apply the same in today's context. Encryption is what is keeping the artificial world of internet secured. So fundamentally, it is the process of transforming your confidential data into an unreadable format so that no hacker or attacker can manipulate or steal it, thereby serving the purpose of confidentiality. So the encryption can be the encryption of the data can be executed through cryptographic keys. The information that is encrypted before it is sent as well as decrypted by the receiver. Therefore, the data when it is sent, it is considered to be safe in air. Thus, we consider encryption is a two-way function. What is encrypted can be decrypted with a proper key. Okay. Here, if you look at the right side of the screen, there's also an example associated to it. That is the AWS KMS, the key management service. Here we have done encryption over the data. Okay. Now let's take another example. Let's try to imagine life without hashing. Okay, suppose if it's someone's birthday, okay, and you decide to send a happy birthday message to your friend. But what happens is your geeky friends decides to have a bit fun at your expense. So what he does, he intercepts your message and turns happy birthday message into rest in peace message. Imagine the consequences. This could happen, and you wouldn't even know it until you are receiving you are receiving and certain reactions. So jokes aside, I think hashing protects the integrity of your data. It protects your data against potential alteration so that your data isn't changed a bit. Thus, hashing is a one-way function that scrambles plain text to produce a unique message digest. With a properly designed algorithm, there's no way to reverse the hashing process. The example is correspondingly present on the right side of the screen. That is the MD5. Okay. Next slide, please. Consider this use case. So this use case will try to highlight all the things that we have covered in previous slide. Here, what the user has done is he has entered his secret credentials. When this SSL request reaches the Apache Knox, here Apache Knox is basically a gatekeeper, okay, and it is providing a perimeter security so that extend their Hadoop access to new users while maintaining the compliance and security policies. Once Knox allows the user to pass through based on his access, the data that user is trying to fetch is further filtered out with the help of Ranger, which in a way has applied fine-grained authorization. You remember, guys, we talked about fine-grained authorization, the attribute access control. Okay. So I'm talking about that. So in that, he was able to do a specific action or an operation on a Hadoop component tool. But wait, did we talk only Hadoop here? Let's dispel this myth. Security should be everywhere. And our next slide exactly talks about the next thing, which is cloud. Next slide, please. So consider in this case, data is coming from various sources and getting ingested into the data lake. So if we talk about the accessibility here, we had discussed in previous slides as well that it is taken care by the top quadrant that we are seeing, where AWS IAM is mentioned, the identity access management. Then there's CloudTrail, which is doing the actual auditing of who's trying to access the system. Then there is a key management service as well. So that is taking care of your encryption part. Then there is Macie, AWS Macie. It is a service that is using ML and pattern matching to discover and protect your sensitive PI data. Similarly, when you look at the left bottom box, there is Ethna and QuickSight. So both are being used as machine learning powered business intelligence tools. And when we talk about the right side of the quadrant, that is the Immuta and AWS Glue data catalog. Both are ways of applying the data compliances to the existing data system in the data lake. So we have clearly seen that this is not restricted to Hadoop or big data. This also lies in the field of cloud. Next slide, please. Okay, so today's business holds more data than ever before. But with this comes a raft of responsibilities related to how this information is stored, shared, protected, and used. So the recent scandals plaguing firms such as Facebook and Cambridge Analytica clearly illustrate what can happen if our data is misused. So it's clear that any firm can suffer from severe reputational damage if they fail to look after their confidential information. But then there's also the prospect of financial penalties should companies be found to have acted carelessly or unethically. Indeed, in the last few years, the number and the complexity of the regulations that business are required to comply with has increased significantly. As the authorities, I think, seek to take back the control of huge amounts of data that are now stored on the server and in the cloud around the world. Next slide, please. We already looked about the implications of data compliance. But if we talk about compliance, compliance is now present in every sphere of life because data is present in every sphere of life, whether it is personal information, bank transactions, health, even your cards. So here we basically are talking about the 4 compliances that lie in every sphere of our life. So first compliance that is present here is GDPR. So GDPR is basically a regulation that requires business to protect the personal data and privacy of European citizens for the transactions that occur in European member states. If I talk about PCI, then this is related to the payment card industry. So the payment card industry data security standard has set a requirement that is intended to ensure that all companies that process, store, or transmit credit card information maintain a secure environment. Then if we come into the field of health, the HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, it sets the standard for sensitive patient data protection. Companies that deal with the protected health information must have physical network and process security measures in place and follow them to ensure HIPAA compliance. Then there's the California Consumer Privacy Act. It is a statewide data privacy law that regulates business all over the world are allowed to handle the personal information of the Californian residents. So if we go on to the next slide. So here we have tried to take an example of GDPR compliance. One of the rules of GDPR use case states that you should erase or anonymize the data which has been dormant for 25 years. So if you see from top to down, in one of the rows of this data lake, there's one account number for Jenny, which had a date of activation as the year of 1995. But Jenny has not been operating this account since last 25 years. So what the GDPR rule is now stating that the personal information for Jenny needs to be anonymized or erased completely. So if you look at the bottom quadrant, you'll see the account number, the last row, has been erased or anonymized. So this is how the GDPR has been applied on the PI set of data. Next slide, please. So if we talk about governance challenges, you must have heard about inertia. So inertia is the resistance of an object to change its state of motion. So inertia applies to people too. People don't like to change. Change is scary. It makes people uncomfortable. People prefer to do the things the way they are. They have always been done. Learning new things and changing behavior takes time and effort. So resistance to change presents a challenge because effective data governance requires changes on many levels. So culture change, first of all, is necessary to make the shift from organizational silos to hoard their data. When I say their data, okay, to viewing the data as a true enterprise asset, that is our data, okay, which is being shared and applied across the traditional organization boundaries. So then there's understanding the business value of data governance. I think investment in only the technology will do nothing to improve the quality and value of your present data. It will, however, highlight the data deficiencies. Again, data will not govern itself. One of the exciting and impactful analytics solution, it has to be done. So it is like eating your broccoli. Nobody enjoys it. Then data governance, I think, must have a purpose. You must be able to quickly answer the purpose of your data governance program. So one of our client, let's say, defines its purpose. He wants to use the strategic data with confidence. So this is a clear-cut purpose. Another purpose could be protecting the classified information. So this is statement answers the why question of data compliance. Then there's a common notion that people think IT owns the data. I think this is a common belief in many organizations that IT owns the data and that business people are just the users of the data. Let's make it very clear that this premise is false. Although this has been the perception over the years, but we as practitioners should take it as our missions to dispel this myth. But most of the practitioners will agree that business people should be responsible for working alongside IT to define the data and data requirements to produce high quality data and use data for operational and decision making purposes. Then there's lack of data documentation. Data documentation, I think, is certainly a challenge, but metadata is even a greater challenge for many organizations. Wait, but what is metadata? In simple and plain terms, it can be defined as data about data, or as I put it, the information stored in IT tools that improves both the business and technical understanding of data and data related assets. What Talent Tahoe Informatica. Next slide, please.
Hey Aditya, seems
if we talk about
hey Aditya, can you just repeat whatever you have said probably in the previous few seconds, because we were not able to hear you clearly.
Okay. Which slide should I be?
Probably, yeah, the last part of the slide, yeah.
Again. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, Aditya, better. Yes, Aditya, please proceed. Yeah.
Okay. Should I go a couple of slides back, or is this fine?
This one. You can start with this.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. I think this network glitch is taking a toll today. But let me come back. The governance market offerings. I think there are already some tools available in the market which provides a data compliance solution. There's Collabra, Talent, Tahoe, Informatica. Next slide, please. The governance maturity model. I think this is the maturity model given by Gartner, and this model is quite self-explanatory. Any organization which is trying to implement the governance in its organization, first of all, it's starting at level 0. When I talk about level 0, it is the unaware level. So there is no ownership, security, or system defined for data in the organization. But as the organization tries to be getting aware of this thing, then they move to level 1, where the business and IT leaders have started to understand and acknowledge the value of information. Okay. But once the sharing of information start taking place between the teams, then they are considered to be at level 2. That is the reactive level. And when the information management system is accepted and adopted, then it is said to be at level 3, the proactive level. And information 4, the level 4 is the managed level, where the standards and policies have already been understood and implemented across the organization. Similarly, at the level 5, the effective level is considered when the organization has reached its goal in terms of information management. Yeah, so I think this concludes the data governance and security. Thank you guys for hearing me out. Feel free to post your Q&A and QA section. Over to you, Surbhi.
Thank you, Aditya, and thank you, Abhishek, for sharing the great insights about data governance and security. Now, just to reiterate, folks, I hope that you all have saved the link or must have by now accessed the link of quiz 1 that we have shared before the break. And I would want you to just save it, access it if not yet, and participate and get a chance to be a winner. Apart from that, we would also be sharing one more quiz link, which will be a quiz 2, covering the topics data lake security governance and storage and catalog. So stay tuned for that, and I hope for a participation from your end for on both the quizzes. Apart from that, at the end of the session and the end of this event, probably we would be touching upon the positions and the hiring that we are open with at Impetus for the different locations. And also we would be announcing the most active participant of the event.